Okay, in this video we're going to be discussing cranial nerves. We're going to start with cranial nerve 1. Cranial nerve 1 is the olfactory nerve, which is sensory to smell. This nerve, if we looked at a brain, is going to be coming out of this area, the olfactory bulbs. From the olfactory bulb, it will go through that little area here called the cribriform plate, and then distribute out through that cribriform plate here into all of the nasal cavity and the nasal terminus. Okay, so that's how cranial nerve 1, the olfactory nerve, is going to be getting its exit from the nasal, or exit from the skull into the brain into the nasal cavity. All right, so for the most part, you can't see cranial nerve 1. All right, other than noticing the olfactory bulbs on the brain and knowing that it goes through that cribriform plate. Let's go to cranial nerve 2. Cranial nerve 2 is the optic nerve. Cranial nerve 2 is sensory, as we know, to sight. We've already done a little video talking about cranial nerve 2. And if we looked at a brain, this is where the optic chiasm, or both of those optic nerves, or cranial nerve 2, would be located. Beautiful example in this particular brain of cranial nerve 2. From the inside of the skull, then, where this sits, it would exit through this hole. That is the optic canal. And if I turn this over, you can see that this hole right here also would indicate where that optic canal is coming out from the outside. So let's see where we can find the optic nerve in our cadaver heads. One of the first things we want to do, of course, is look for a head that has a deep dissection. We're going to look through or dissect around a ton of these extraocular muscles so that we can see this very large nerve here coming into the back of the eye, and that would be the optic nerve. So here's one example of an optic nerve. Let me just show you another one for comparison. Similarly, a deep dissection, we move the extraocular muscles away, and that is our optic nerve. It looks a little pink there, kind of like arterial, but that is the optic nerve. So optic nerve 2 is cranial nerve 2, sensory for sight. Let's move on to cranial nerve 3. This is going to be the oculomotor nerve. It has motor and autonomic fibers in it. It's motor to the extraocular muscles, in particular what we refer to as DVM rectus, dorsal, medial, and ventral rectus muscles, the ventral oblique, and the levator palpebrae superioris. So the oculomotor will be motor to most of those extraocular muscles, and it's autonomic to the iris and ciliary body and its fibers. If we try to find that nerve, so we had cranial nerve 1 for olfactory, 2 for optic, and here is cranial nerve 3. It's a beautiful example on this brain of the third cranial nerve. And that cranial nerve 3, if we looked at where it comes out of the skull, is going to go through the orbital fissure. So we have the optic canal first, that was here, and then the orbital fissure is going to be this little hole. Okay, optic orbital. And if I put this little guy through here and turned it around, you can see that it comes out that second hole, the orbital fissure on this side. Remember, the first one was optic. So, excuse me, optic here, orbital. Okay, so where do we find the oculomotor in the cadaver? What you need to do is find the optic nerve first, and then look to see deep and underneath it. I don't have a... This structure here, that would be oculomotor in its ciliary ganglion. This is probably not the greatest example I have, so let's look at another cadaver and see if it looks a little better there. Oh, this is beautiful. Happening. Sorry, I get too excited over stuff like this. But so there was optic, and see this nerve right here, and how it has that big blob right there? That's oculomotor with its ciliary ganglion on it. Did you get a good picture of that? Mm-hmm. Great. So once again, remember what muscles it innervates: the DVM rectus muscles, levator palpebrae superioris, and the ventral oblique muscle. So let's move now to cranial nerve 4. Cranial nerve 4 is also innervates the eye. There's a lot of cranial nerves innervating the eye. That's the trochlear nerve, and the trochlear nerve is going to be motor to the dorsal oblique. The dorsal oblique muscle is oftentimes hard to find. Can't see it on this particular cadaver, but remember we have two obliques, a dorsal and a ventral, and the trochlear nerve will be innervating that. In terms of where we're going to find that trochlear nerve on a brain, that one can be a little funky, hard to find, because it's a teeny weeny little guy that, oh, there he is. Oh, there it is. Sneaks out right there. So happy. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Cranial nerve 4. Our trochlear nerve. Again, just like cranial nerve 3, it's going to go through that orbital fissure. So we have optic canal and orbital fissure. So that orbital fissure from the inside and orbital from the outside. So that concludes cranial nerves 1 through 4.